So hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends. Welcome to the Asian Civilizations Museum. I would like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Hope you've had some good light snacks or dinner for the refreshments outside. I'm Priscilla, the Senior Manager of the Education Department at the museum and your MC and host for today. And I would like to welcome you all to this very special edition of ACM Conversations. So if some of you are still unfamiliar with it, ACM Conversations is basically a series of monthly talks that brings together leading scholars, cultural practitioners, artisans, community resource persons in Singapore and from abroad in conversation with curators and educators at ACM. And we would like to thank the generous support from Dalio Philanthropies, without which this talk would not have been possible. So for this session of ACM Conversations, we'll be shining a spotlight on two of our education and accessibility initiatives at the museum. Yeah, so they are our signature Up Close with ACM program and our Manila Galleon special exhibition Touch Tours. So these programs really represent our ongoing commitment to creating meaningful, multisensory experiences for all our visitors. And I'm very delighted today to have our valued partners from Dialogue in the Dark Singapore here, alongside dedicated members of our ACM docent community to join us for the talk. And they'll be sharing their journeys and their personal insights into facilitating touch experiences that bring our collection to life in an entirely new way. So before we hear from our speakers, allow me to just share how these initiatives came to be and why they matter so deeply to us here at ACM. So at the heart of these initiatives lies a fundamental belief that art and heritage should be accessible for everyone to enjoy. We've moved beyond just ensuring physical access to our spaces and our collections, although that still remains crucial, of course. Instead, we are thinking about how to create diverse ways of experiencing the museum and ensuring that every visitor can meaningfully engage with our collection. So since 2021, ACM's partnership with Dialogue in the Dark Singapore has formed a central part of our museum's accessibility efforts. In our Up Close with ACM program, facilitators with visual impairment from Dialogue in the Dark offer very unique perspectives on our collection. Through their guidance, visitors are able to experience our objects in an entirely new way, just through their sense of touch, which is very different from a typical museum. This challenges traditional notions of how we connect with art and artifacts. So let me just walk you through what happens in a typical Up Close with ACM session. I'm not sure how many of you have experienced our sessions before, but it usually takes place on the last Saturday of every month. So if you'd like to find out more information about that, feel free to check out our website, or you can talk to me after these conversations as well. I'll be very happy to share more with you. But basically, yes, each workshop session, we welcome just a very intimate group of about 8 to 10 participants all together, led by a facilitator with visual impairment from Dialogue in the Dark Singapore. So the experience begins right here, as you can see in the photo, in our function room, where an array of mysterious black boxes await discovery. Yeah, the journey starts then after all participants are blindfolded and the black boxes uncovered to reveal 3D printed replicas of our museum objects. So the facilitator will guide participants through a series of questions, encouraging them to describe the object's shape, guess the object's purpose, even attempt to draw what the object looks like, as what you can see from the photo too, solely through their sense of touch. And of course, we are still a museum. We want people to look at our artifacts and the collection. So after this tactile exploration, we review the objects, and participants then join a guided tour with one of our museum docents and the DID, the Dialogue in the Dark facilitator, to see the actual artifacts up close and personal in the galleries. So you can see that this unique format combines the expertise of our Dialogue in the Dark facilitators who lead the touch sessions, together with our ACM docents who conduct the gallery tours. And the workshop concludes with a Q&A segment where participants engage in open conversations with Dialogue in the Dark about their lived experiences in Singapore. For me, this is particularly meaningful, that the museum has become like this safe space for building conversations and fostering understanding among communities. So that's something that has always been very special for me whenever an up-close with ACM session is taking place. Yes, so building on the success of Up Close with ACM, we actually expanded our accessibility initiatives in 2024 with the Manila Galleon exhibition. So for that, we worked closely with Dialogue in the Dark again as project consultants to develop special tactile boards, audio description clips, and touch tours that are specifically designed for visitors with visual impairment. So this very ambitious new initiative, wouldn't have been possible without our dedicated ACM docents who really embraced the challenge of leading these tours. And to prepare for them, a group of docents underwent some very special training with the Dialogue in the Dark team, experiencing their tour in the dark and learning very specific techniques for guiding visitors with visual impairment. And we are very thankful because the response to the touch tours has been um, um, very, uh, very good, and we are really looking forward to incorporating similar elements, in future special exhibitions and even our permanent galleries right here at ACM as well. So this is just a little introduction and overview to the two initiatives, but enough from me. And maybe let's hear directly from Dialogue in the Dark and our docents about their experiences with these two programs at ACM. I'm sure all of them have many more things to share with you. So yeah, they're all right here already. So maybe I'll just introduce everyone to you. So I would like to thank all of you here first for being here today with us. So perhaps maybe we'll just start off with a brief introduction of yourself and what personally motivated you to be part of these tactile experiences at ACM, whether it's through the Up Close with ACM program or the Manila Galleon Touch Tours. And maybe we can just start off with the Up Close with ACM program first, and I'll pass the mic to Wai Ching.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Thank you. Thank you all for making time here to join us for this session. My name is Wai Ching. I graduated from the first batch of docent training program for ACM way back in 1997. And I've been guiding with the museum for nearly 30 years since. And since then, since my training, my passion for sharing my own heritage and for promoting cross-cultural understanding has never subsided. So I joined the Up Close with ACM program sometime around 2022. At that time, after more than 20 years guiding your conventional gallery tours, I was ready to do something different. And I'm always for inclusivity. So taking part in the Up Close program would allow me to put into action my beliefs. Thank you. And I will pass it to Teresa.
Okay, thanks, Wei Ching. Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa, a staff at Dialogue in the Dark Singapore. So I just started joining this Up Close with ACM this year, and I think my first run was in April. It was an eye-opening experience for me. Especially, I think it was very heartwarming because that was my first session, and my children actually came to give me their support. And yeah, I was very grateful. And through that session, I think they also learned something that they didn't know about me. So yeah, and and they went home and then they started asking me questions. So yeah, so it's kind of and I find that going through this program is a very meaningful thing for me, especially as a person with vision impairment, because it actually gives me a platform to create awareness towards the public, right? And for people who didn't know, or who doesn't know or understand about our community. Yeah. Thank you very much. Now I would like to pass the time over to Wendy.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm Vandana Sharma, and I'm a volunteer guide with the Friends of Museum here in ACM. So I come from India, and back in India, I worked as science teacher and then later on as an education lecturer. So my first love is teaching, but then I fell in love with guiding when I did my training program here. So I am pretty like new docent. I finished my training program in 2022. Uh, so after moving to Singapore, I volunteered with multiple organizations, and among them were Minds for special needs and also IC2, a school for visually challenged individuals, kids. And there I used to design and make tactile storybooks. And that I did for 4 years. So when Manila Galleon Touch Tour program came about, so all the docents were really excited. Uh, the first thing was the whole idea of extending the museum space for, diverse audience and inclusivity. But personally, for me, the second reason was that how I would be able to include the guiding skills, use the guiding skills, as well as whatever I had learned in IC2 to guide these tactile tours. So that was the motivation. So now I will pass mic to Kyung.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ka Yong. I've been, yeah, it's okay, no problem. Yeah, I've been with Dialogue the Dutch since the beginning, which is 2009. We have been around in Singapore about 16 years. So the initiative with ACM, I was with this initiative from the very start, and I thought these two programs, it's kind of give me, I was thinking how to, I reflect back, right? It, uh, I'm actually quite heartened to know that the museum in Singapore are trying to make the museum more accessible to the visually impaired community. I remember as a blind, I do see a little, and when I went to the museum in the past, right? For example, I went to to Germany and all. I don't really enjoy myself because it was not accessible at all. And what I can get is only from people who describe what is on the exhibits. And yeah, but this time when I came, right, I could get to touch, get to feel, get to smell, and get description of such a docent telling us the background and the stories that goes with the exhibits. I think that really make the museum alive to me again. And yeah, I would like to share more, but I'll just leave it for question later. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, yes, maybe just to share also, I mean, Kayong did experience one of the tours led by Vandana, but Kayong actually worked with us also to actually be a trainer and a consultant for the Touch tour. So Vandana was actually guided by him as well when she went over to Dialogue in the Dark to experience the tour in the dark. So it was a mutual guiding experience and learning. Yeah. But thank you for all your introductions, everyone. Maybe just to start the ball rolling, just like to hear about the moments perhaps that have stayed with each one of you, whether you're facilitating, or participating in these touch experiences at ACM. Was there a particular interaction, with like any tour participants that have touched your heart, or an unexpected discovery, when you were preparing or training for the programs, or even a challenging situation that you experienced, on the ground that led to growth? Is there any like one story or experience that perhaps stood out to you? Yeah. So maybe you can start with Wai Ching again.
Right, thank you. Um, yes, um, I have never personally, before joining this program, I have never um, interacted with persons with disability. So being in this program to me is also up close with someone with disability. And every session of up close is different because of the participants. Every session will, in every session, I learn something uh, insightful because of the questions that they pose to the guide at the end of the session. But I think through all the sessions, that what really I enjoyed knowing is how technology have actually been helping them with making their life a lot easier. There were a couple of sessions actually where our guide did a live demonstration of some of the apps that are available on their handphone, and to help them navigate and inverted commas see some of the things. I think Teresa did one demonstration the last time, and that was really, really insightful for all of us who attended that session. I think that um, this kind of sharing experiences really, really stick with me. Thank you. I'll pass the sharing to Teresa now.
Well, excuse me. Well, for me, I think um, I think from the program, right? I was very grateful because as I told you all that last April, that means 2025 April was my first run, so I was a bit like I don't want to use the word no confidence, but it's kind of like a bit like, oh, what is next? What is next? Because it's like for blind people, right? I mean, when we run a program or a workshop, for people who are sighted, you all can use slides and you all can see the slides. You do not need to memorize. But for us, everything is memorizing. We don't see. So even if the notes is in front of us, we have to memorize. So I was so grateful that Wai Ching was my first docent. She was with me and she really helped me a lot. And with her, she really gave me a lot of confidence in a sense, like she would cue me, to do something. And yeah, and it was really a very comforting partnership, together working together with her. And yes, indeed, I think doing this ACM program, it also helps me to think. Actually, last time when I go to any museum or whatever, I find that it's the most boring thing. I've been to 20 over countries. So I have been to, usually when you follow a tour, right, they always bring you to museums lah. For me, I was just stand down there and like nothing much to see because I can't appreciate those art pieces because I don't understand. I can't see the explanation and all those things. But this ACM actually gives me a new perspective of going over to museum. Like what just now Wai Ching was sharing about the technology that we use. Yeah, recently I was like trying out one of the apps that and the AI apps, and it really gives me a different perspective about museum because recently I just went to this Lee Kong Chian museum and I try out the app. Wow, I then realized that I could actually stay hours in a museum without feeling boring. Yeah, because it really wow explains so much and I say wow, so museum is actually so much more for me to learn. Yeah, it's not like last time, just to me is very excluding. It's like just standing down there and wait for people to come in 3 hours. Wow, what am I going to do? That sort of stuff. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to pass the time over to Wendy.
Yeah, thank you. So, as a docent, affirm docent, for every docent, you will agree that the most memorable aspect of a tour is to have engaged audience. But that is not always the case. Sometimes it happens and sometimes not. But when we were, all the docents in that Manila Galleon Touch Tour would agree that in case of guiding these tours, every single tour was so pleasurable because they were very interactive and up close. All the participants were so interactive, so inquisitive. I don't remember a single dull moment in those tours. So the other aspect, memorable aspect, were the challenges. And I will share one challenge which we came across while guiding. So the tactile tours, the touch tours have two aspects, two elements to them. One is the tactile aspect where we try to explain the details of the artifacts using the tactile reproduction of the artifact. And that elements need to be done individually mostly individually for every participant, right? And the second aspect is sharing the story of the artifact, which can be done in group. So the challenge was how to do this for 6 participants in a limited time without being repetitive or wasting or delaying a lot of time, right? Waiting time. So the solution which we came up with was that instead of one guide guiding the whole group, we will guide in pairs. So if I was pairing with another docent, I would take 3 participants, help them to understand the artifact. For example, if we had Spanish dollar, so to explain the details of Spanish dollar using the tactile boards. Meanwhile, the other 3 participants would be listening to the stories of the Spanish dollar. And then we switch the participants. So that way we were able to conduct the tour smoothly, and it was a great teamwork. So that was also something which will remain as a pleasurable memory for me. Yes, next.
All right. Okay, something to remember, right? Is the, when we first started the touch tour experience, the Manila Galleon thing, the group of them, I think about 8 to 9 of them, they came to Dialogue in the Dark for the tour. And the reason they came is they want to get an immersive experience of how to get to know a bit of the blind community so that they can really do a good tour guiding for us. I'm just impressed with their energy and their curious questions, and they want to know what word to say, what word not to say. But I just telling them that it's not no going to avoid any words. You can say things like see and look, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they actually learn a lot how to guide a blind person and what to do. That turned out translate into really good tour for us. And one suggestion I actually told them is tell good stories about the exhibits, and they really use that. And I really remember when we came for the touch tour experience, and a group of us, right, from Dialogue in the Dark, we came as a group for our bonding activities, and we really enjoy the touch tour uh, experience. And I remember about the Spanish coin, the money, and then also the ship, right? The Galilean ship, and also the what chocolate jar? Yeah. And then with the chocolate jar, and then we got spices, and besides what they tell us a story, they also prepare a bags of things that they bring along. They bring along things that we can touch. Besides the tactile board, they also bring things like textile. They bring along a scarf that we can feel and wear over our neck, and the spices that we can smell. So really engage all our other senses, not only touch alone. We engage with a sense of smell and any other thing. The story really engage our imagination. That makes the tour in the museum alive. It's so much different from what I had experienced in the past. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kayong. Okay, I'm like very impressed that he remembers like all the artifacts because the tours happened quite a while ago. Uh, yeah, correct, last year. So yeah, Bandara did a good job. That means. Yes, all the Josephs. Okay, but yeah, thanks for sharing all these memories and experiences. And perhaps now I'll just take some time to zoom in a little bit to each specific program. So we'll start off with the Up Close with ACM program first. So maybe a question for Teresa, because Teresa, I think you shared a little bit before already that it was your very first Up Close with ACM session this year, back in April, I believe. Yeah, so maybe could you just share with us a little bit more, about what the experience was like? I think I'd love to hear about your initial expectations going in, what you learned from that first interaction with visitors. And I guess also like what aspects of these touch tours do you most look forward to exploring as you do more sessions with us in the future?
So for me, I think as I mentioned earlier, the first session was a um, very heartwarming because my children were around, and I think one thing that I was very surprised, or something that I feel a bit uh, not what I expected, because actually before I run the actual tour, I observed two of my other colleagues running the tour. So I was actually quite worried, and in a way, I kept asking them, what happened if during that session nobody asks you a question? What are you going to do, right? So this is something that yeah, we are quite worried about lah. Then after my friends say don't worry, they will ask questions. And true enough, okay, my first session, right, I have to be very honest. Out of, I think we have 9 participants that day. Out of the 9, right, 6 of them are people that I know. 2 of them are my sons, and then my son's girlfriend. So 4 of them already, right? And then the other 2 is one of them is my colleague and the husband. So so I was telling myself, oh my gosh. So out of the 9 of them, 6 of them already I know them. Then they will not be asking questions. Then I say the other 3, what question do you think they have, right? I mean, to ask me. But surprisingly, they did ask questions, and it really showed their interest, to get to know about us. I mean, from uh, yeah, getting to understand us better. I still remember there was one lady, right? She kept asking questions, and even when we went for the docent, when we went out with the docent for the gallery, when we see the actual object, and when we were walking, she was constantly asking me question already. Yeah, so we were chatting, and I was telling her, I said, I hope that you will come and visit Dialogue in the Dark one day. She said she will come, but I'm not very sure whether she came or not lah. Because there are so many of my colleagues, but I do believe that she may have come already. Yeah. So, which this is something that I feel that, that was something that is not what I expected, because I never expect that people can be um, so enthusiastic, and like, want to know more about the disability community. Yeah. Thank-
Okay, yeah, thanks, Teresa. Yeah, I think there's a, just now when I shared as well, there's a unique segment in the Up Close with ACM program where participants really just sit down at the end and have this very open conversation with the Dialogue in the Dark guides, and they can just really, you open up the floor to them and you say, you can ask me any questions, and I'm willing to, share everything with you. Could you share maybe what it was like having these very candid conversations with participants? I know that you have only had one session so far. Your other colleagues, maybe they have had many many questions, but I'm sure you have like your own like experiences as well.
Well, I was very grateful, because that day those questions that they asked me wasn't very tough. It's not something that I couldn't answer. It was, I mean, to me, it's like, kind of a norm thing to us, because in Dialogue in the Dark, we do answer questions also. Because after the tour, just in case you all don't know what Dialogue in the Dark is all about, how many of you heard of Dialogue in the Dark in the very first place? Can you all clap your hands for those who have heard? Wow, okay. But okay, you all have heard of it, but how many of you have been to Dialogue in the Dark? Clap your hands. Wow. Okay, then, yeah. So for those, just for the benefit of those who have never been, so it's an exhibition, an hour of experience in total darkness. You can't see even your 5 fingers, okay? So you will be blinded for 1 hour. And it's like an exchange of experience. So in the light, right, you all are the ones that is guiding us, but in the dark, we are the one that's guiding you all. So in the dark, we are the sighted ones. You all will be the blind ones, right? So towards the end of the exhibition, usually we will have the kind of like a bit of Q&A, lah, right? Then we will be asked all kinds of questions. You name it, we have it. So very interesting question. I name you one: how do blind people go toilet? These are one of the questions that is being asked. So there are many other very interesting questions. So same goes for this up close with ACM that day when I was there. The lady was so enthusiastic. She actually asked me a lot of questions. For example, one of the questions that she asked was like, when a person who is congenital blindness, that means born blind, if they have never seen anything before, uh, what kind of perspective they have when it comes to certain objects. And another question she asked, what do they see in the dream? Of course, I'm not congenitally blind. I'm still partially blind. I'm still able to see. But I think all these answers I got it from my colleagues because I happen to have one colleague. Her name is Peg Ling. She's also uh, one of the facilitators that run this ACM program, right? And she actually shared with me lah. So basically, I think yeah, these are some of the things. Even though blindness can range from like partial, I mean low vision to total blindness. Different stages at different level of blindness, we have different experience and different perspectives. So that's why we actually in Dialogue in the Dark, one thing is that we learn from one another. Yeah. Even you see me and Kai Yong, right? Um, our vision is also different. Yeah. What we can see and what we experience is also very different. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So maybe now I'll direct my attention to Wai Ching. So Teresa is her first time this year, right? Wai Ching has been guiding museum tours for almost 30 years now. So maybe I'd just like to ask you a question. How is Up Close from ACM different from the traditional guided tours that you always do? Any new insights or skills especially that you have gained from being involved in these tactile experiences? And I think for myself, I'm particularly curious about your observations on how visitors connect with the objects on the guided tour segment after they've been through the tactile exploration segment that's led by like Teresa and the other Dialogue in the Dark guides. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Okay, I think the Up Close with ACM is a truly special program. Firstly, because primarily conducted by a guide with visual issues. And secondly, usually when we talk about tactile experiences in the museum, we would usually think about helping the blind visitor experience the museum through touch and feel. But the Up Close program is the exact opposite. It is not about bringing the museum to those who are visually impaired, but actually bringing the world of the blind to sighted people like us through a museum experience. So I think this is the biggest difference between a conventional gallery tour and the up close program. So my biggest realization working with my fellow guides is that I realized that persons with disabilities are very generous and forthcoming about their differences from us. They are not at all vulnerable. And it is we ourselves, the sighted ones, who are hypersensitive or overly perceptive um, about the difference between us. And I think earlier, I think Kai Yong very clearly showed this when he said, there is nothing you cannot ask them. They are not sensitive at all. We are the ones who think too much about the differences. That's one big realization. And I also more attentive to my unconscious communication behaviors, all my habits. Um, and I think we just had one good example just now. Because usually, for example, when the guide asks the participants a question, it is quite natural for them to put up their hands, which is you all did earlier when she asked who, right? Who doesn't know, who has been to Dialogue in the Dark? The natural is for us to put out our hands or to shake our heads or nod our heads in response. So this happens a lot during the touch and feel segment. And the poor guide must be wondering, why is nobody answering my question? And then we have to, remind the participants every now and then to speak up because the guide cannot see your non-verbal cues. So this is something I learned to be a lot more attentive also to my own habits, my communication habits. So in terms of the gallery tour, yes, actually that is the fun part because unlike a conventional gallery tour, during this gallery tour under up close, usually the participants would have developed some kind of affinity with the object that they had earlier touched and felt. And before we go for the gallery tour, we usually will not tell them what the object is, what is it made of, or what is it for. Usually what they see would be the 3D model of the object, and it's all one color, it's just all white color. Okay, so they don't actually know what is it for, what's the material, what is the actual color. And we also don't disclose to them what is the order whereby they will be taken to see the objects. So when they go to the gallery, they will have to spot the object from all the other displays in the showcase. And usually when they spot it, we usually have a good laugh. You know, it's usually a lot of spontaneous fun. Usually they will laugh at themselves, laugh at the revelation, and usually they laugh at their, inverted commas, silly speculation earlier about what that object actually is. So I think that's the fun part, one of the fun parts of the gallery tour. Thank you.
Okay, maybe just quickly to ask Wai Ching also, because this Up Close with ACM program has this dynamic where you actually co-facilitate even the guided tour segment when you are taken around the galleries, right, with the Dialogue in the Dark guide. So perhaps could you share your experience of this collaborative approach when you're doing the guided tour?
How you incorporate that? Okay, thanks. Yes, I always make sure that I partner my guide on equal terms during the gallery tour, because the whole program is about them and not actually about the artifact per se. So before every session, I will make it a point to discuss with the guide my tour plan, and then we will also go through some questions that the guide or some information that the guide can use during the tour. Okay, and I will usually customize the questions for different guides depending on the level of visual impairment. Okay, and during the tour itself, I will also, after giving my formal commentary, I will always use that object as a lead-in or a prompt for the guide to share her personal experiences with visual impairment. So for example, if the object is a butterfly, after my formal commentary, I will usually use the butterfly to pose a question to the guide. For example, like, what does a butterfly mean to you? Depending on the visual impairment of the guide. And the participants usually will enjoy this segment very much. They enjoy the stories that the guide have to share. And sometimes the guide may have something that she wishes to share with the group. Then I will purposely tailor a question such that along the way throughout the tour, she would have an opportunity to share that story. So for example, Teresa told me that she can speak Turkish. She's fluent in Turkish language. So we find somewhere along the tour so that I can pose her that question so that she can go on to share her experience picking up a third language with her disability. So that's how we collaborate together for the tour. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we'll move on from one docent to another docent now. And yeah, it's a question for Vandana. So for Vandana and for Kayong, they participated in our Manila Galleons special exhibition Touch Tours. And I think the process, actually the preparation process for the Touch Tours is quite a unique one. So maybe Vandana, you could take us through that journey, you know, from your training to eventually guiding your first ever group of like persons with visual impairments.
So there were 9 of us who signed up for Manila Galleon Touch Tours, 9 FOM docents. And we, for preparation, we underwent 3-stage preparation. First 2 stages or sessions were more of learning session, and the third one was more application-based session. So the first session happened at Niang Polytechnic in DID, SG, Dialogue in the Dark, and it was a tour, what earlier we heard about. So all us docent, guided by Keong, were in this tour, pitch dark space. So it was pretty challenging, and some of the docents were a bit overwhelmed also, because moving in a pitch dark space, just using the stick and the instruction given by the facilitator. So, but at the same time, pushed us, to go beyond our comfort zone. And it was really an inspirational session and a learning one also. The facilitator actually made us learn that how just by giving correct instructions, right? Spot on instructions, you can guide people through, help them navigate and explore a particular space without using the sense of sight. And the second session was here at ACM, and it was more of a sharing session in which we were explained how to use the tactile reproductions, the tactile boards, which were there installed in the Manila Galleon exhibition, plus how to use the sensory bags, which earlier Keong mentioned about. These sensory bags were provided by NHB, and each of them had certain objects like shards of ceramic, plus textile, plus spices. On so these were there to help us, right, guide the tours. Now, based on these two sessions, the third one was the application session, which again happened in the Manila Galleon exhibition. And there, we curated, all the docents curated the tour and did the tour for the DID SG volunteers, the guides, who role played as visitors. So to guide those tours, we had the tactile boards, we had the sensory bag, but on top of that, some passionate docents also made tactile objects of their own. For example, one of the docents, Nelly, she brought this globe. She outlined all the continents and the trade routes with threads so that we can explain that. And then there was Darlene, who brought her, this rare top made with pineapple textile, which is called pina, right? So that the participants could feel it. And after the session, we took feedback of all the volunteers, the participants, and again brainstormed to how to improve, this tour and make it better. And based on all these, we conducted tours.
Yeah, so I'm showing some photos now, if you can see, of the globe that Vandana was talking about, and that's Nelly, who was guiding one of our visitors. So it was quite amazing. Like, I think we were all so touched and so impressed, that she created this entire globe with like all the travel routes, from the Americas to Asia, like by herself on her own. ACM, we didn't say anything. We were very happy to just provide our sensory bags for their use, but Nelly went a step further, and we're very grateful for, I think, all the guides who have signed up for the tours. Maybe as a follow-up question as well. So Vandana, Vandana's also a museum docent, and you've led many public tours and also many of the school tours, the student tours here at ACM. So maybe can you share what aspects of the touch tours you think could enhance the traditional museum touring experience?
Yeah. So the main aspect of museum experience is to tell stories, right, to the visitors through objects and through informing imagination, right? But when we did these touch tours, we realized, the training preparation for touch tours, we realized that most of the traditional museum experiences are limited to visuals, and we neglect all the other senses. So touch tours were a lesson in informing the imagination using all the other senses, right? Available to you always in any space, and here we are talking about museum space, right? So whether it is sense of smells, sound, or touch. And touch, I felt that it is the most important aspect because it brings you closer to an object, right? Very intimate and stays with you in your memory. So otherwise, also for certain objects, touch is very important to understand those objects, like textile, right? So if I have a textile to touch, I can understand the feeling of that textile better. If I'm saying cotton, it's difficult to understand, right? But if you touch it, it's easier to understand. And the other thing is, uh, when you are guiding kids, so touch tours, the tactiles would be so great because when we are guiding kids, they always want to touch things. And we have to always hold them back in the museum. Don't touch, don't touch. So if you have tactile boards where the kids can feel it, touch it, it would be great. So overall, um, touch tours, if they become part of the traditional museum experience, then they will add much more to that experience for public in general.
Okay, thanks, Vandana. So maybe we go on to Kayong now.
Kayong?
Yeah, so Kayong. Yeah. Yeah, and Kayong, you played a very unique role in this journey, I think. You're not only a consultant helping ACM develop the tactile experiences, to train our guides as well, but also someone who has experienced the tour firsthand yourself. So having worn both these hats, could you perhaps share some insights on what you think makes a museum experience truly meaningful and inclusive?
Yeah, it's indeed unique for me to wear two hats. Sometimes I wear two hats at the same time, sometimes. Yeah, so, as a so-called consultant to ACM to develop this touch tour experience, I learned that as much as I want to ask for the world, there are some constraints lah. There are always constraints in terms of resources and things, especially for the tactile board, right? It is not a truly 3D tactile board. So sometimes without a 3D tactile board, we really cannot really understand the speed, the artifacts by touch alone. So we come up with bringing up for example, the chocolate jar, right? Chocolate jar. The jar is, if you throw it on a tactile board, is really not. You can't feel the 3D jar. You can't feel it is a jar. If you are not born, you are born blind, and you feel the jar itself, you will not feel as a jar. Yeah. So you can actually use another, maybe a smaller version of the jar for participant to feel it, so that you can actually feel the jar itself. So actually also about the sizes, right? The size, the Spanish coin, for example, the Spanish dollar, there are pictures on the coin itself, and if you want to show the actual size, is really very small. I think it's what, 4 cm, and with this 4 cm, we really cannot feel what's on the coin itself. But we can actually bring it bigger, expand it bigger, and they can really feel the what is on the coin itself, the two globes, and also the number 1734. Yeah, 1734. So with the expanded tactile coin, you can actually feel what is there. So to me, there are constraints, but as a participant, we can actually, there are ways to go around the constraint. So I think we learn valuable lessons from this development. I think from this valuable lesson, we can, after that, if we have a next time to do another tactile board again, I believe we can do a much better job. Not that this one is no good, but we can actually improve on it, right? Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's our first time doing the tactile boards also. So always looking to improve, and hope that the next one that we have will be much better. So Kayong, we can depend on you again for all the feedback and improvements. But maybe for Kayong as well. Just asking you one more question, perhaps like how cultural institutions, how do you think cultural institutions like ACM then can better engage with the visually impaired community during the developmental phase of like our exhibitions and programs?
I think when you want to engage the visually impaired community, I believe the more important question is, whom do you engage? Is it anybody who is visually impaired, or a visually impaired person who is interested in museum, who has no opportunity to experience a museum before? I think it'd be good if you can find a visually impaired person who has studied history, who is really want to experience the museum, don't have the opportunity to go for the museum. I think this person or people will be the most suitable person to really give you the feedback, and then this person will really benefit from the initiative lah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we are just it's 7:50 p.m. now. So as we wrap up our discussion tonight, maybe just to hear from each one of you again about the future of inclusive museum experiences. What potential do you see for expanding tactile experiences and like dialogues at the museum, or what possibilities excite you most about making cultural spaces accessible in Singapore? So we can start off again with Wai Ching.
Thank you. Um, I'm reminded of something that one of our guides had said before in the tours, and she said it a couple of times over the past few years that worked with her. She said that to the blind, going into a museum is like just going into an aircon room. So I guess my simple answer is let's make museum less of an aircon room to persons with disabilities. So I think the up close program does have some potential to be expanded as a kind of permanent kind of experience in a museum. It needn't be a very huge one, just a couple of objects. Uh, might be interesting and insightful and a good learning experience for both the sighted and persons with disability. Thank you.
Okay, for me, right, I think just now, as I mentioned, I mean, for me, um, aside from like what Wai Ching mentioned, I think one of my colleagues mentioned that coming to the museum is like coming into an aircon room. For me, it's not that bad lah. But then for me, is slightly better. At least I got things to see. But I think moving forward, what we can do is aside from the touch, the what do you call that again? The model thing. Yeah, yeah, the replica things that we can feel and touch. I think that is one of the actually I was in that tour that time, and I think yeah, it really amazed me also because whenever we see things that's in the showcase, I mean in the window display window, we can't feel it because for blind people the first thing we want to do is to touch it, and in a museum is don't touch, please do not touch, right? So that is one thing. It already gives us a kind of like obstacle there already. So moving forward, I feel that like what I mentioned earlier on, I went to another museum and I learned a lot of things using technology. So I think one of the things, aside from being able to touch, right, we would like to know the story also. But of course, sometimes, it's good that the museum will provide docents, Um, but sometimes also I feel that it also be good that a blind person can also move around the museum freely on our own time, own target. So I believe that aside from those replica, we can also have some technology thing that can help us to explore the museum. Yeah.
So, for Manila Gallant Touch Tours, for all of us docents, it was kind of a trial thing, right? A pilot project kind of a thing. And we all are hoping that this extends to permanent galleries. And many more docents are looking forward to it and want to be part of it. And expanding these experiences also, in a way, pushes this whole idea of changing the traditional museum experience and to make it more holistic by moving from purely visual experience to more multi-sensory experience, right? Um, I also feel that making museums more accessible and catering to diverse audience, in a way also helps us to understand and identify the limitations of the visitor experiences. So when we identify those limitations, in a way, it also helps us to understand that maybe those limitations are hindering the experience, museum experience for everyone. So it is a continuous process to improve that experience, museum experience, and it will take time to make it more inclusive, uh, but we are looking forward to be part of that process and build cultural spaces, cherishable cultural spaces, which are more welcoming and involve everyone. They are more welcoming, challenging and at the same time, uh, places which give delight to diverse groups.
Yes, my dreams, right, is to, up close with ACM and the touch tour experience. They both have their own merits and disadvantages. So I just name some of them, and then we can marry them together, make it a better one. So the up close with ACM, the 3D replica that is really wonderful, really give us a full picture of what the art piece is all about. But the unfortunate thing is that the replica is only felt in a particular room, not in the gallery itself. So that's one disadvantage. But one another advantage of the up close ACM is that the visual impact guide actually can play a active role in terms of guiding, like I think just like a docent, co-work partner with the docent to lead this tour at the museum. I think that's wonderful. So what about the touch tour? The touch tour, the wonderful part, not despite the 3D not being truly 3D, right? The tactile board is actually at the gallery itself. We are not like segregated in a particular room, hide away in a room, but we are in the gallery itself, touching the tactile board. I think that's wonderful. So why not we marry those two together, have the 3D replica at the gallery itself, and also engage the visually impaired guide as partner with the docent to guide a tour that way, and also make it a permanent exhibition. I think that is my dream, and I think that will make it a very wonderful dream lah. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think some of my colleagues from the education departments here also. So we have a lot of work cut out for us to do still. But yeah, I want to thank you. Thank all our speakers here today for participating in this evening's ACM conversations. So I think maybe we just have a couple of minutes for like one or two questions from the audience. So if any one of you would like to ask a question, feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, I see one over there. Maybe, yeah, we'll get the mic to you in a moment.
Good evening, I'm Elizabeth. I was actually a participant in the Dialogue in the Dark, and I just want to say it's very meaningful. I also understand that Kayong dream is actually very concrete, because to give a neurological aspect to it, when a person has congenital sight impairment, when you scan the brain through the fMRI, the brain over time has actually compensated. So what happened is that it lights up the sensory portions of the brain even more vividly. So this is actually how children grow and learn. So actually they have agency and a deeper purpose to bring this to the younger children who are now overexposed to screen time, and therefore their brains are underdeveloped in that aspect. So they are able to compensate with this therapeutic program if they open it to preschoolers. I know you have a preschool program, and to the school children as well. So it's beyond just altruism for the sake of altruism or inclusivity for the sake of it, because this actually serves a very deep therapeutic purpose for children, as well as we have an aging population, so their sensory abilities are also, in a sense, degraded over time. So this will keep them maybe but better with not getting dementia, and because it keeps them on their toes. Yeah, so there is a very deep purpose to their work. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think there's a purpose when we entitle this talk ACM for All as well. I think that is what we believe in, like that, yes, okay, maybe we say like this program we developed together with Dialogue in the Dark, maybe the touch tours, we specifically engage our docents to guide visitors with vision impairments, but it goes, I mean, these experiences, tactile boards, touch tours, yes, I think what Vandana shared, it will be very useful as well for school tours, for preschoolers who come into the museum as well. So I think that's definitely something that we are looking at. So thanks for that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you. I heard Kayong shared quite a bit about like the details of the artifacts, the replicas and all, and how it helps. So I would just like to hear from the other three of you something light, maybe like what's your favorite artifact or favorite piece of information from the Manila Gallery from Vandana, and the up close tours for Teresa and Wai Ching. Thank you.
Okay, we purposely didn't want to say so much about the artifacts, because then if you come for my up close, you'll be spoiled already. But maybe I give a challenge to Wai Ching and Teresa to share their favorite detail without telling too much also.
Wow, I'm not supposed to disclose what the item is. Maybe I just kind of generally describe the items. The items in the up close, they are deceptive, I think. They are not easy to guess. I mean, some of them are quite easy to feel and quite easy to draw. But usually, the simpler the object is, the harder it is actually to guess correctly what that particular object is. And I assume that it is done on purpose by the museum. Uh, yeah, I think I can't go. I, I I can't describe too much in detail. Yeah, I was going to say, yes, you need to come for the program, and then to experience it. Yeah, even for participants, while we allow them to take photographs, right? At the end, we also ask them not to post it on social media so that we don't spoil the fun for other participants of the program. Thank you.
For me, right, I think maybe I will share my experience before I run the program. So the very first time when I came to observe my colleague running the program, I remember I was given this opportunity to actually feel the object, which once again, I'm not supposed to disclose what the object is, but I noticed something. One of the objects, all right, one of the artifacts, when you place it differently, you will have a different perspective. Yeah. So it's not like they always like, okay, for example, this water here, I place it this way. You feel it, oh yeah, this is the norm, right? I mean, this is how it's supposed to be. But sometimes we don't do it this way. Maybe we place it, yeah, the other way around. So when you feel the object, right, it will be a different perspective. Yeah. So this is the tricky part about that, and also the very interesting part. Yeah, that's all I can share. Thank you. But really, come for the program. You won't regret. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so I can reveal the object because Manila exhibition or special exhibition is gone. We don't know when it will come again. So I will share from the perspective of the touch tours. So among those, actually all of them have had, challenges. So in a way, every one of them was interesting, and I think that was deliberate on their part to like how to choose those six. There were six of them, right? Or five? Five. So five of them to choose five objects from this, huge exhibition. So, but I remember this ship, the Manila Galleon ship. So the tactile board for that, and the story behind that was really interesting. But the challenge was how to, make the participants understand the different parts of the ship. You know, the mast, where the mast is. So we had to actually think, brainstorm to how to go about it. Coin was okay and other things were okay, but for the ship we had to, so that they can understand where the guns go. These many guns were there. And because uh, on the replica, they didn't have the tactile replica, they didn't have the exact number of holes to show the guns, as Keong earlier expressed that. So yeah, the ship was because the story also behind the ship was really interesting. So that was one of the aspects which stood out for me. You want to share?
I don't. Actually, I don't have a favorite, but I think maybe the chocolate jar, right? Not that I like chocolate. No, I remember how you describe that is like using a water bottle, right? It's about 2.5 height of the water bottle. So I can imagine how tall is the chocolate jar, yeah. And yeah, it, it just stuck up for me lah, the chocolate jar. Yeah.
Yeah, but chocolate jar, even we as docents felt that the tactile board was not.
Not that you cannot describe the 3D job. Yeah.
Kept the
Yeah.
actually ceramic jar.
Yeah, that's right. Did you all share? Do you bring a chocolate jar to show?
We brought the shards of ceramic.
Ah, yeah,
Feel the
yeah, yeah. That's
texture.
right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the ways we tried to describe the objects was to compare it with something that they are familiar with. Like, people can imagine in their minds about like the chocolate jar. Okay, it's roughly maybe 2 times the height of your normal, 1 liter water bottle, for example, something like that. So that's a way that helps everyone to imagine, what something might look like, or roughly the shape or the size of an object in our galleries. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. We have come to the end of the session today, and we hope you can join us again for our next ACM conversation session. So that will be happening on the 31st of July, where we'll have a talk on cross-cultural art forms of Sri Lanka that's led by art historian Dr. Donald Stadner. And we will also really appreciate if you could give us your feedback by scanning the QR code that's flashing up on the screen right now. So it will really help us improve the way we organize our talks and lectures. I would like to thank Dalio Philanthropies as well for the kind support for this talk. And we hope to see you back for the next talk here at ACM. If you have any questions, feel free to just approach any one of us, I think. And we'll have like maybe 5 minutes or so to just chat with you. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.